All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me get into the chat room here. We'll open that up, see who we got. All the early birds, all the early birds. You remember that saying they used to say, all the early bird gets the worm. Y'all probably too young for that, huh? Y'all remember that? Early bird gets the worm.
Yes, sir.
uh, so we are thankful for the two that we do have in the room that's with us. I think we'll have more that's coming in, and more that are watching, of course. Trying to get to the. Oh, here come another one wants a shout out. I know that Sister K. All right, there she is. All right, all right, all right. I think everybody's doing good. How's you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing good. I
Doing
praise
good.
God.
Yeah, hallelujah. What about you, my brother?
Likewise,
Yeah,
all is well.
all is well. Okay, all right, that's what we want. So we're gonna think about tonight, of course, the scripture will be coming from, of course, of what we be thinking about in our conversation. Would be, the song that we sing sometimes on the Shabbat. It says, "Choose life." So that's something that it rang in my heart about choosing life, and of course, we was thinking about choose for yourself this day of whom you're going to serve. And so that is a choice that we have to do. And then he went on to say, for me and my house, we're going to serve Yahweh. And so that's a
Hallelujah.
choice. Yeah. So that's a choice that we always want to be able to look towards. And then we're going to talk about, because in our lives, I think, every day you're making a choice, some type of way. And so as we begin to build on this, we want to make sure that we get some kind of ideas and something that can help us in order to make the right choices in that. So right off the bat, I said to make the right choices in that. Is it possible to make the wrong choice? And if you say yes, then why? And then if you say no, then why? What are you thinking, my brother?
Shalom, elder.
Yeah, shalom.
Praise God. It's the choice is always yours. Um, if you even go and you look at the movie The Matrix, you have the red pill and the blue pill,
Oh,
right?
okay, all
Which
right.
which, which one you gonna choose? And some of us probably felt that way when we came into covenant, when we were coming into covenant, because just to go off of what we talked about the last 2 weeks, there was lies, but now we have the truth. Do
Right.
you want to deal with the truth? You know, and when we come into the truth, we can still find ourselves at a crossroad where we can make the wrong decisions in life. Now, I know I've done it, and making those decisions can impact your entire life. It can even impact your entire walk going forward,
Right,
you
right.
know,
Uh-huh. Good.
and especially after you've learned what the truth is. So when I look at this scripture, like I said before, this was my marching orders right here. When I heard
Yeah.
this, I was like, this
Yes,
is what's
sir.
gonna push me forward because ultimately it is your choice. It's my choice. I had a test coming up. It's my choice if I'm gonna study or not, or if I'm just gonna go in that blind.
Right,
And
right.
and the Father just lays out everything for us through His Word and through His teachers who He have blessed us with. And we've gotten so much from Him in these times. I was talking to Ak the other day, well, yeah, other day about His Hebrews everywhere. We all over the place. You see
Uh-huh.
tassels, you get excited, because you're seeing
Right,
someone
right.
who has made the right choice to serve the Father.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
And
Yes.
I love to see our people here in this land um, choosing to serve the Father, and the wrong choice it can still happen. It can happen tomorrow, but I think a lot of times. this scripture have come up for me. You know, I had a situation at work. You know, I wanted to say something to somebody, but I know all the conversations we didn't have and all the conversations we didn't had up on here on Power Up. So I had to
Yeah.
choose to bite my tongue and to hold that
Hmm.
back. And I'm glad I did because I was able to really think about what I want to say. Because I'm still gonna say what I want to say, but I need to say it in a better way.
Yeah.
Because
Good. Good. Uh-huh.
I've been in different situations where I didn't do that. I chose to speak my mind right then and there rather than calming down and actually trying to think about what I want to say. So
Hmm.
yes, you can make the wrong choice.
Okay. All right. All right. Yehoshua, what do you think? Yes or no? Can you make the wrong choice? Is it possible?
Ye- yes, it is definitely possible to make the wrong choice. And it's also, yeah, that was the question. Is it possible to make the wrong choice? Yes, I would agree. And, also shalom, shalom. All praise to the Father.
Shalom. Yes. Hallelujah.
Thanks. Yes. And why I think, JD brought up a really good example in the sense of we already have an understanding for what we would consider based on an environment, right and wrong. A lot of people have, their own idea of right and wrong. So as JD brought up, just use the same example he said, if I see another brother or sister in tassels, then I'm going to start thinking about the way I would have made a decision to make tassels and saying, I'm in my heart saying that's the right decision.
Hmm.
So, the other thing I was thinking about is another thing he had said, because it was similar to what I wanted to bring up is it says like, be slow to speak. So I need to choose when to speak and when not to speak and whether or not what I'm saying is profitable. Is it upbuilding to the hearers? So when I'm thinking about choices, making the right and wrong one, sometimes it's a product of the experience and the knowledge I have. And then sometimes it can be impulsive and it can be emotionally driven. And I could be making a decision based upon how I feel versus my wisdom, which I know all those things kind of can run together. It can get pretty broad at that point.
Absolutely. Let me just stay there a little bit. It's several things that you guys said that I might hit on since we are there. Okay, now help us. Boy, I got something I need to cough real good, but help us, and I'll leave you guys with this. Help us know when you guys we say yes, we can make that wrong choice, and I want to always see how we can walk it out. Right? It's how can I walk these things out? So how do I know that I made this wrong choice? Right? I have to make a choice. So when is it? When does it become wrong? Now, listen to me now. When does it become wrong? Right? Because I have to make a choice. Just try to give, if you can, some examples of when does it become wrong, though. So I made a choice, and we just talking about any choice. We know, I made a choice. When does I discover? Because it's important. When do I discover? Because I have to make a choice, right? So when do I discover, or how does that develop into the wrong choice? Is it something do I find out that it was the wrong choice? Because I do have to make one, in that. So how does that develop to let me know that it was a wrong choice? All right, my brother.
I think well the Torah it tells us what's right and wrong. And like you said, with you finding out that something is wrong. And that's happened to me so many times when I found out that something that I did was wrong. For example, coming into covenant, before I came into covenant, I didn't eat any swine at all, And when I came into covenant, it was actually like really solidified. And I found out there were certain foods that I was eating that I was choosing to eat and not check the labels, and found out that I was eating the wrong thing. That
Mm-hmm.
came later. But then you have certain situations where you make a choice of I made the choice to do this thing. I made the choice to say this thing, and I find out that it's wrong. Usually, sometimes after I do it, you know, thus in covenant, you would think that's the way it would go, but there are some times when we just would deliberately just do something wrong. You know, so you
Okay.
knew right
Good.
before you did it that it was wrong, and you chose to do it anyway. You know, so I guess when I know it's wrong, the Torah is going to set things straight for me. It's going to show me what is wrong and what is right, and those choices can be made with the knowledge, or it can be made without the knowledge. And when it's made without the knowledge, well, at least you have a chance to go back and really clean that up. I mean, both situations you can, but it's better to be on the side like I didn't know that. I didn't know how that worked. So let me fix that. Coming in the truth into the truth earlier, there were certain things that I was doing on the Shabbat
Okay.
that I kind of felt that it was wrong, but I went through it anyway. You know, well, the scriptures don't say this, so I'm just gonna do it. You know, but that's what we have teachers for. You know, and to teach me, hey, that's not no, you don't do that on the Shabbat. That's not how that works. You know, so I think a lot of times with us, you know, dealing with the Father and His Spirit is with us, that Spirit will let us know when, you know, would kind of convict us in a way like you're about to do something wrong, you know. And I've had that happen before, whereas in this doesn't feel right, but I'm going to do it anyway, and then having to find
Okay.
out that what I did was wrong, like I was wrong, and even I didn't even have to read that it was wrong. But I felt that was wrong, and I still went through with it.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Absolutely. All right. Okay, my brother. What do you think? Yehoshua.
I
What
had
do
to
you
take
think, brother?
I had to take some notes on that.
Okay. All right.
Um.
We're gonna
So
charge you for those
yes.
notes.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't take any notes. No, I'm just kidding. So, yes, I would say what was, how do I know I made the wrong choice? It's really going to be based on like, I'm using the word experience. So, knowing the difference between, for me, what I've been taught and what is written. So when I think about making right choices, and I'm making choices that, these are the choices made on belief. These are choices made about the way of life in service and worship of the Most High. Those decisions what I choose, it has to be aligned with what is written. So if I choose that I'm going to observe the Sabbath, so I'm going to go back to where, the whole idea of the Sabbath came from. I'm going to find out that the master rested on the seventh day. So I can't switch that around. I can't switch the Sabbath to the first day of the week, because now I'm making a choice based upon my own way of thinking. Versus if I choose to observe the Sabbath the way it was written, I'm going to find out that from Genesis and so on, for millennia, it's always been the seventh day of the week. So I would say, so how would I know if I made the wrong choice? I'm going to find out that my Sabbath is not the same as the Sabbath the Father rested on. So if I want to make a right choice, I'm going to find, especially when I'm talking about the way of life and serving the Most High, I want to know, has it been written? Often that phrase is even used when the Messiah using. I can't even speak English today. Often the Messiah used that phrase when he was making an example too. It has been written, So that should be similar to the way we think. And if I'm making the right choice, I could say that too. As my brother brought up, I don't eat shrimp, crabs, lobsters, and things like that. Why? It has been written, I shall eat the fish that swim with the fins and scales, as is recorded in Leviticus 11. So, that's how I know I'm making the right choice. If I if I'm serving the Father and I can't find that it has been written place in my life, then I know that I'm living off of what I've been taught, and it may be contrary to the word of the Father, which can be a confusing thing because sometimes people find themselves being rewarded in rebellion. And that seems to be something we can do to ourselves. You know, if I can say everything is going well with me just because I'm oblivious to how good it can truly be. So if I'm not making the right choices and I'm in a sea of people not making the right choices, how would I be able to escape that? I need to find out what's been written and then make choices that are aligned with the word.
Okay, okay, good, good, man. That was awesome, y'all. Really bringing that out. Let me give you, as we walk in, of course, in the covenant with the Most High. Here's another one, a day to day choice, right? And then of course we'll switch back, but every day to day choice. Y'all let me know about this, and I'm gonna try to come up with something here. Uh, because it's important. All our day to day situations are important. All right, I went to go buy a house, right? Now, this story I am creating. I went to buy a house, and we looked at three houses, right? And the first two, it kind of got us. It's 80%, 90%. We kind of like it. That third house, oh man, this is it. This is it, right? In that, and we liked it. We liked those things. Say, well, you like this? Say, yeah, I like it, and all of that. And the as we are talking to the realtor, we said, now this is the one we want, and he said, well, I wanted to show you this, but sometimes they had flooding in there, floods, before, right? And I wasn't sure if you something that you may have been afraid of or something like that. And because of our desire to have this house so much, right? Then we said, okay, we'll take that. We'll just maybe get some insurance or something like that, right? In that, so we're making choices every day, right? In that, so was that and I'm just kind of making it up. Was that to you? Would that be a wrong choice or a right choice?
For me, in my opinion, I would say that would definitely be the wrong choice, especially if you've been warned, you know. Um, and then what if it do flood?
Mm-hmm.
What if that insurance don't pay for floods?
Okay.
What if you
Okay.
didn't read the fine print? And you asked earlier, how do you know you made the wrong decision? Is usually the outcomes that shows that you made the wrong decision. And buying a house where there's a possibility that it could flood, yeah, that would definitely be the wrong decision. And I think just we are people and we see things that's nice and shiny, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to get it. I remember doing that. I remember even growing up, knowing I can't fit these shoes, but these are the shoes everybody wearing at school. When I'm about to squeeze my feet in it, and I had to pay for that later on, um, and just um, getting the house that you want. I think it's important, but it's also, you buying a house for you and your family. You want to make sure that you're in a place that's safe. And to not heed the warning, I think that's not wise.
Okay. All right. All right. What do you think, my brother?
See, that's a tough one for me.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
I was getting into a house, it's the house. Anyone who's ever had that place in
Yes.
their life, they know you can't move on this. This is the one. I think you would have to have a contingency. You would need to come up with if you are choosing to get into this house and you have been made aware of its flaws, you're going to need some way to either be prepared or counteract these issues. You're gonna need to, plan ahead and make some, you're gonna need to make some agreements on what needs to even be done before you move in, because this is the house. So if this is the one, you're gonna need to get those things fixed before we move in. And then I'm gonna need documented work. I'm gonna need to get all the receipts so that when an issue does come back, or if it does arise, we now can I can make a right decision, that now I have the house I want. And yes, it may have a potential flaw. It doesn't mean it's going to get worse again, but it potentially can. But I've done everything I can to make sure this issue won't sneak up on me. I'm aware of it. And if I can, I've even solved it. So I think that it can really change. Now, if it's not your number one house, if it's not your number one pick, then yeah, like my brother said, let's move on. But if it's the one, you're going to need to make some decisions on whether or not you want to take on this extra baggage and this potential problems. And if as they say, the pros outweigh the cons, then making that decision, I don't see that. If you moved with wisdom, I don't see how it could definitely sneak up on you. Of
Okay.
course, it can get really worse, but you can still, like you said, have insurances and all those things. Of course, like you want to do is read them, know what you're getting yourself into, but um, there is no perfect scenario. So, so whether or not you get into it with knowing the issues or not, there are going to be issues. I'd rather know what's going to happen in a sense. So who knows?
Okay. So so Jedediah said he wouldn't do it. What would you do?
I don't know. It would, I'd have to really think it out. I'd have to put into practice what I just said.
Oh,
So if it
okay.
was the perfect house, I would need to either solve this potential issue and make sure it's not going to reoccur. And if I can't guarantee that it won't reoccur, then I would need to move on. If it's
Okay.
going to
So
happen and there's nothing I can do, then I would not choose it. But if I can stop it, I would choose it.
okay. Most floods would come from, say, rain, right? So most of the time you don't know it's gonna flood. I'm trying to give you some more information on
Oh,
your decision, right? But the guy just told you that it's a possibility that it floods. It had flooded close to that area
oh, you
before.
mean the land floods?
Yes, yes. What
Yeah, you
flood you
don't
thought I
buy
was
a
talking
house in
about?
a flood. I thought you were just talking about a water issue,
Okay,
like
all
pipes or
right.
something.
Okay,
Because
I,
that
I think I
happens.
triggered something on you, didn't I? I
Oh
must have triggered.
yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely I have
Okay, now I'm
experience
talking
with
about.
that.
Yeah, I'm talking about the flood. Yeah, I'm talking about. I said
So you
it's a
mean like
flood
living in a
area.
floodplain? Yeah, if you live
Oh,
in a
okay,
floodplain, you don't buy a house in a floodplain. That's bad business. The only thing
okay,
you could really do about that is elevate the land, which costs a lot of money. So if you're going to elevate the land, do it if you can
oh,
afford to.
okay. So that previous to what you said, what we gonna do with that? Can we use that? What you said previous before you thought I was talking about before you thought talking about a pipe, right? Now I'm talking about flood,
Yes, sir.
right?
Oh yeah, if you're
Do
talking
you?
a floodplain, don't buy a house in a floodplain. I would not do that.
Okay, okay. All right. All right. Say person one, we'll use person one and two. Person one bought the house, right? You guys are saying is the wrong decision. I'm just saying off the top, right? Okay. I'm saying like I'm trying to bring out when does any decision become wrong, right? Now, I think like you guys are saying, all of those things you're gonna take in account, right? Okay, I decide to buy that house, right? Now, the decision, I made a choice. The choice would have been wrong if it start raining and it get flooded out, right? The choice would have been right if it doesn't get flooded out. I was there for 20 some years, never had a flood. Matter of fact, we was in the lack of rain, right? So sometimes making the wrong choice doesn't come to you as being wrong until it develops. You see what I'm saying? In that, right? So Would the statement I just made, is that true or false?
Oh, yes,
About the
sir.
development. Oh, my apologies.
It's okay.
I was gonna say it's true, and
Okay.
I guess I was trying to say earlier. You don't know until the outcome of your decision is revealed.
Right, right.
Um,
Okay.
and an example would be you thought, oh, I make X amount of dollars, I can afford this $800 car payment.
Uh-huh.
Obviously,
Yeah.
that in your mind at that time it was the right choice, but then later on you realize that was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay, good. What you gonna say, Yehoshua?
So you're saying the outcome in your scenario where you got the house was that, and it didn't flood?
What the statement that I had made, not only that, okay, the statement that I made was I bought the house, right? And it didn't flood. I was there about 20
Hmm.
years, right? And I
Okay.
made a choice to buy it. Or I bought the house and it did flood. So when does it become a wrong decision? Some decisions, do they become wrong later?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, is that true or
Hmm.
false? Did I make the
That's
wrong
true.
decision? Uh-huh.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people, they choose a job. I know I chose a job.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed working there. And over time, it was revealed this isn't going to be the best job for me. The pay was great. The schedule was terrible. Worked you until you're half dead. So, of course, like I think everybody, would say, hey, why you got to keep the job because of the money? But eventually I ended up choosing a better job with a better schedule, even though I was getting less pay. So I think what you were saying is definitely true. Some things take time for you to see the reward, the true, the as they say, the other side of the
Mm-hmm.
coin.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so sometimes at the time that we make decisions, we make the right decision, right? Because y'all had all that, according to this house in a flood plain where it floods, then I think that I would have did the same thing, personally what you guys are saying. Once I seen all that, I probably would have ran to the hills, right? But that not necessarily mean that another person came by and said that, okay, I'm gonna get the insurance and I'm gonna live there. Sometimes, that particular choice, if it flooded and I drove by and I said, oh man, it flooded over there, I made a good choice, right? And then if it said that if I drove by there from year to year and I said, man, it ain't never rained over there. Maybe, because it don't remember this was my number one house, as y'all said, as you said, my brother. It's my number one house, and every time I drive by there, I say, man, it ain't never flooded, right? So sometimes we have to make the choice, but my thought process is you don't know if that choice sometime was not the correct one until sometimes later, or how it develops. So sometimes the wrong choice is not immediately, in that, and then we can convince ourselves. Excuse me, sometime of the wrong choice. Me and my wife, we was driving, and I took the wrong exit. This years ago, I took the wrong exit. Now, as we was going, I remembered. I said, no, this the right way, because I remember that tree over there. I remember, yeah, that house. I remember that house, and we just going. I mean, we went a long way. And then I realized, so I talked to myself out of the choice that I made to take this exit. This is the exit, and once I made that choice, I start to convince myself of the choice that I made. Well, it was the wrong exit. So I went all the way down and realized, and I had to humble myself, because most times we don't look at the maps and everything. But so I had to humble myself, and then I had to backtrack, in that, right? But I made a choice to take that exit. So once I did that, I went on. I can't remember. Like I went pretty far though, and so I had to pay for the gas. I had to pay for that time. I had to pay all of that, and then come back all the way back around, turn around, and come back. But sometimes we make choices, and then we convince ourselves of the choice that we made, and then realize that it wasn't the right choice. So I guess my point was the fact that some choices sometimes is not like immediately, done or something like that. But you won't find out that something that's not the right choice sometimes till later. So many times I think in our lives we can say, I wish I had it did this better, right? And made a better choice, right? Now, is there something in you guys' life that you could pick out that you said, I wish I could have made a better choice after you made that choice, but yet, uh, you know, uh, either you could turn around or not turn around. So I guess I'll make it shorter here, where I can understand it. Is have you guys ever made a choice, and then kind of find out that wasn't the right choice? And then you can share it with us, or kind of make. You don't have to give us detail, or however you want to do it. Have you ever did that?
Oh yes, sir. Oh man, I can look back on so many things.
Yeah,
So
me
many
too, brother.
things.
Yeah.
Uh, I've made some terrible choices in my life, and I know that for sure. I guess it will be the choice that I made that I'm glad I had a chance to kind of reverse, like you said, to turn around
Mm-hmm.
on it, was the way that I was raising my children.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
I was raising them a certain way. I was raising them to think a certain way. I was raising them to behave a certain way. And um, a lot of the raising came from me not really saying anything, me not having conversations, me not really building a relationship with them as their father.
Mm.
And then
Good.
coming
Good.
into covenant, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, praise the Father that I reversed on that. I turned around from that type of thinking and understanding that I have to be more fatherly to my children, especially my son. I made a choice to, he's a boy. You gotta. It's the standard of how you gotta raise a boy,
Mm-hmm.
and I chose that standard, and I'm glad that early on in his life that the father has, given me wisdom to deal with my son and really train him up to be a man, and not a man of the world, a man of Yah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you saying the what would have happened? You think if you would have kept you made a choice, and that was a choice that you made as the father. What if you would not made the other choice? But what do you think would happen if you would have kept on the first choice?
I don't think our relationship would be that good, especially with my son.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
son loves me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Hallelujah.
it's just the way that he behaves with me, the way that he acts with me, the way he interacts with me. I don't think that those things would be the same if I was still raising him to be a worldly man, and I praise the
Okay.
Most High for that.
All right. Okay, that's good. So then you made the right choice of serving the Father, coming into covenant, and then begin to teach him the things of the covenant, or the things of the way that the Father desires for us to do. So you had to accept it first.
Yes,
So the
sir.
choice that you made affected your whole family, right? On both
Yes, sir.
ends on that. And so you can see where it went, maybe from uh it didn't go from bad to worse, but it did increase, right? Because the way that you was going the first time, you would have survived, but there was going to be a lot of holes in the relationships, right? This time, your relationship is more solid because you're going and doing the things that the Father has a desire for us to do, but you had to get it first, you know. So we, and I'm sure in part two we'll get more into how things affect you like that, you know, how you know. But the whole, since we are here, the what the decisions that we make, it affects your whole family, so it affects everything around us, you know. It really really does. So when you made the switch, it affect them, and when you didn't make, you know, if you didn't make the switch, it would affect them as well. In that, all right, Yehoshua, what do you think, my brother?
Oh, so there are so many things in that. It was a lot.
Yes, sir.
Um, what, what, hmm. I just think, where I could start is the way it was leading. Hmm. There's a lot. There's a lot. So I could say again, like, keeping it in the family, in the household,
Okay, all right, good.
where leading my family, I used to put before them the religious festivals of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we used to have, you know, the Christmas. So we would set up the Christmas tree. We would do all those things. And those are the things that my first two children experienced for the first 3 years of their life. And I was leading them in that way. I was the one teaching them. You know, I was
Yes, good, good.
responsible for what they were being taught, and how can I say, justifying. And I like that that's what you brought up about making the wrong turn.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you make the wrong decision, you ignore all the red flags and justify your way. Just because admitting that you're wrong is just a hard thing to do. But that's what I had to do. So eventually I learned that these religious festivals that I thought were to esteem my belief in the Father and the Messiah had absolutely nothing to do with him. Christmas has nothing to do with the Most High. Christmas has nothing to do with the Messiah. You know, in fact, the roots of those things are appalling and very profane, and have the exact opposite effect. They don't bring esteem to him; they would bring shame. So I had to turn that around. And once I learned of doing what is right, doing what has been written, as I mentioned earlier, I had to now bring that to my family. And I had to start with me. I had to start doing it. So that means when it came down to all these religious festivals, those things bring people so much happiness. So now I'm going to be the guy that takes away all the happiness. But the point is, I'm doing what's right in the eyes of the Father. So I took away those religious festivals, and those are the things I turned around for our family. I believe the Most High was leading me, just as He led many of us, to leave those things behind. So I'd say if there's anything that I could really highlight, it would be turning away from, Christmas and Easter and those things that don't exalt the name of the Most High Yah. And that can be a struggle for anybody who ever found themselves doing those things. They had fun doing it. And it's not something you do by yourself. You've got a whole clan that goes with you. So turning that around, making a choice, as to take the words of Joshua here, me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. So for us to serve Yahweh, we need to put away those foreign idols and those trinkets and those traditions that we adopted from the nations. And I'd say another thing that really was um, big on making choices was in marriage. Realizing and working on my marriage meant working on me. It wasn't about changing my wife. I needed to work on myself. I needed to start showing her value by the way I would speak to her and talk and treat her and acknowledge her. Those were huge things, huge, because everybody thinks like, what's wrong with her? Like the number one thing we do when it comes to any sort of conflict is we blame the other individual. But if we take some time and work on ourselves, we might find out that that may be the thing we need to change. Like you're talking about, when do the choices, the things you need to change. And that's something I really need to change. I went through a lot of counseling and, prayer and learning. It took a long time to really see the faults in myself. So now that I'm aware of them, I'm not going to ignore them. I'm going to change them. And, because I want to have a happy house. I want to have a wonderful family. And like Jedediah was saying, it's, winning the love of your children. You're not going to get it being a grumpy person, or
Hmm.
someone who's on edge all the time. You're going to have to find out how to bring out the tenderness and the kindness and the mercy, and realize that you give those things when they're when the time is fitting. So it's just, I don't know. There's a lot when it comes down to change, and those things you were bringing up before. So I'll just leave it with
Y-
those two.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we wanted to thinking about those choice. So you made a choice because you said like religious feast or festivals or whatever. Now you made a choice to stop one and then do the other. Is that correct? And choose when you're thinking
Yes, I had
about
to replace
choosing.
it.
Okay, so you chose to do something else, right? In that, because you found
Yes,
out that
sir.
that wasn't okay. Also, and then so the thing with your wife, the same thing is you start choosing to not to thinking that you could change her, right? But
Hmm.
yet you start okay, all right. Then the choice was different, and then the outcome of that would make it different too as well. Is that right? Because we're
Amen.
talking about choosing this day on who you're going to serve, right? In that, and each time we do that, I think we kind of develop to on tonight is the fact that sometimes the point that really we was trying to home in on is you don't know some of those because here's the thing, and I think I'm finna go down another road. Hopefully we can get meet at the intersection. Uh, hopefully it won't stop us from making choices. Is where I want to go, and the choice, because sometimes people are thinking so much of the wrong choice that they don't make a choice at all. So sometimes those choices, and I'm just talking, say, on in the natural and how we move, and even with the things of the Father, though. Uh, but the choices that we are making, we have to make that choice, and then in the process, we can always enhance or turn. Like you're saying, that if we find out something, then we'll start doing this. So all of those things are there. So, but never stop. I just want to kind of put this in there. Never stop making the choice. You have to make the choice. So you have the right information, then you make those choices, and then whatever occurs or whatever the process is in that, then you can make another choice. In that. So if I say, oh, I'm gonna move to uh, I don't know, California, then that's the choice that I made. Once I get to California, then I say, oh man, I shouldn't have moved here, you know. But before I went to California, say, oh, what if I go to California? Okay, the house is this. I don't want to do that. Whatever that. I just stay where I'm at. And then I should have went to California, one of those. So sometimes it can hinder you not making a choice at all. But and I think in part two, we're going to get into more of that when we make these choices of the most high. Now how do we go? How do we work those things out? And I think you guys really hit on a lot of that on tonight. But I just want to make sure that we understand that you have to make the choice, and then of course there's consequences that comes along with every choice you made. So my maybe my final question as we run out of time into to you guys is uh, on the choice that you made, what consequences came with that? Whether you want to express the good one or the bad in that. So you made a choice. What was the consequences on that? And I say consequences, I'm saying that it could be good, or if you want to express yourself in a we'll say bad manner, or it didn't turn out good, right? That will help us, and it will power somebody up. So go ahead and express that, and then we'll get ready to close here.
Yes, sir. I also want to point out there is a question in the chat, but
Okay.
it for me it turned out to be good. It turned out to be one of the best choices I ever made. And the thing is just like the choice that I made, I'm still building on it. Like it hasn't
Mm-hmm.
stopped. It's progressing. You know, I don't know where I'm at in that stage of continue to try to build this relationship, with my children. And I love how Ak also brought up his wife. To me, that was the most important one, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
I look back on the way that I operated in my marriage with her. All those choices, the things I
Mm-hmm.
said and done, I can't do that no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's not even a thought anymore. Um, but it's just it makes things so much better in my household. Looking at my children, seeing how they operate. Like I would talk about the music that they listen to. They
Mm-hmm.
were able to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
listen to certain music,
Right. Right.
my choice of music, and then me cutting off, a lot of the music that they wanted to listen to because it was my music. They don't want to listen to that no more. They
Mm-hmm.
listening
Mm-hmm.
to way better music than I ever listened to. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I see the fruits of it because some things in those songs that they listen to, because music is very powerful. If people
Yeah.
don't
Yeah. Yeah.
understand, it is very powerful. And
Hmm.
so I find them asking questions from the songs they listen to. Well, this artist said this, and it's like, oh well, let's talk about that because a lot of the music that we listen to is to build us up, and,
Mm-hmm.
is to power us up like we're doing here, but in Yah,
Mm-hmm.
the music that
Mm-hmm.
they listen to is focusing on serving Yah. And since I made that choice to put down um, the way that I guess I would say was raising them to listen to certain worldly music, I have definitely seen the fruit of that in my children, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. What you think, my brother?
I just want to echo that as well. The music one is huge, because a lot of the, if you grew up in a household like mine, my parents were singing songs, and it's not just that it was just them, but they got it from their parents and so on and so forth. I mean, some of these
Mm-hmm.
super popular songs are about adultery,
Mm-hmm.
saying someone else's wife has something going on. And it's weird. It's weird when you really start to think about how the father had, let us be in that. And we're all just a part of singing these songs and exalting behavior that today in the things of the father, we're ashamed of. Totally. At least we should be. And
Yeah.
that's because I know that that can be a really touchy place for some, choosing to let go of the music of the world. I know that's a huge thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just even certain lyrics. Oh man, it can really send me over the edge. But the same thing is with TV. So I could say that, when we grew up, there were a lot of things that are on TV that seemed to be acceptable, as the adults would say, cover your eyes, but then you can keep watching. If you're watching anything where you have to do that, that's a choice that I needed to make for my family. We're not going to be, for the most part, even dealing with anything like that, even with the cartoons, some of the cartoons go too far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So making decisions like that, and then the consequences of it does have a negative element. Sometimes I'm looked at as the stiff, you know. Here I am, oh, it's just a cartoon, Dad or Uncle Sid or whoever I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking with. Well, there's a reason why I made the choice on why I want to say this is off limits for you. It's not like your entire library is cut off. There's a reason why I would say this show or this song or this movie is something I don't want you to partake of my loving, the one I love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can be connected to a lot of different things. And just to, I guess, connect the dots to what I said earlier, um, I left a job to have more time with my family. I had to work on the day of my daughter's birth. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I don't know if too many people have had to experience that. So here I am. I go to the hospital. They're holding my brand new child, and here comes my employer. You come to work today, or you're fired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's tough. So I dealt with that for a long time. And then made a decision. Like I said, ended up being a cut in pay, but I got all the time I needed with my family. Then the Most High gave me the Sabbath off. So just like I said before, with making the decision of I stopped saying that Sunday was a Sabbath, and then I start keeping the Saturday, the Shabbat, on the seventh day of the week. Just like I said with the Christmas, I had to stop with the Christmas, and I started observing the festivals of the Most High. You could read about that in Leviticus chapter 23. Passover, unleavened bread, Shavuot, Feast of Weeks, Feast of Tabernacles, those things is the best time of my entire life. I have more fun doing those than anything I ever did in the world. And those were the consequences. The consequences were that it put a line of separation, just as light separates darkness. There was a separation between the ways that I was living outside of the covenant of the Father and the people that also were removed. And that can
Mm-hmm.
be a
Mm-hmm.
hard thing. So those were the consequences. I gained the Father, I gained his community, I gained his righteousness and the lovingly committed covenant that he gave. But at the same time, I had the consequences where I lost people I cared about, people I love, people who I still have a relationship with, but it's diminished because I've stepped out of darkness and into the light. And that's the idea there. So when you choose to step into the light, it says that your works will be exposed, but men love the darkness, right? So there are going to be consequences there. Some who say they love you will then turn and say they hate you, you know? But those are the things that we should be willing to endure, for the kingdom. So there's a good side to it. It's not that it doesn't hurt, but there is a good side to it because whatever we've given up for his name, we will gain much more in this coming kingdom. And even while we're still on the earth, as David said, what if I hadn't believed to see the goodness of Yah in the land of the living? Hallelujah. So I do believe, when you choose the Father, you do see it.
Okay. All right. So one of the consequences of you making your choice then was that you lost some of your friends, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. In that, I think they said there was a question there. Head of the family does change about simple. Oh, does it? Is it a simple change or did it? It takes time here. Well, according to what it is, it can take time, right? And then also according to what context is in, what it is in that, then some changes can be immediately, but then some changes can take a while in that.
Yes.
And how those things come about. Uh, and it's based, some of that is based on the fact that who you're dealing with. So, for instance, if you're dealing with, we'll say, husband and wife, if you're dealing with that, then it's according to how they accept something or they don't accept something, according to what the situation is. And so it could be simplified. Just like with anything, should we go to the groceries on Monday or should we go Tuesday? That's a simple one versus should we move to, I think I said California, in that's a big, so those contexts in there would be a bigger ones, meaning that it's a bigger decision that we have to make. And so sometimes it can be more intense in that. The same thing when you come into say the covenant, and I think Jedediah, both of you guys were saying, especially with your family, you was on one road, right? And Jedediah, maybe I have you to come up as well, because you said you was teaching them one way, and then to turn that around. So, what were some of the challenges that you had? Is it complete, or how long did that take? I think that would help. Let me put this up, by the way. Help them answer that question in that. How long did you can see the change? It's of course we teaching them, and it's not totally complete. In that. So using that for an example, how long was it for you seen that turnaround? Start going the other way. And it was tough. Maybe that'll help him.
Yeah, yes, sir. It was. And it's not all the way complete.
Right.
It's something that we're still working on. There are some things that we refer to as a stronghold. Those
Mm-hmm.
strongholds can still be a part of your life, and those are the things that it takes effort to get out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
First you have to identify it. Once you identify it, then you can take care of it. But if you're not able to identify something in your life that's detrimental to your walk with the Father, because remember, we chose to serve the Father.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if you can't see this thing that's in front of you, it'd be difficult. So once you identify it, then I talked about it earlier. Now, how am I going to go about um, taking care of this problem that's in my life? With my children, the music. That was difficult because it was difficult for me. It was to the point, I really had to pray to the Father. Like, I know that this is a problem. I need to get rid of this, but I'm having
Mm-hmm.
a hard time doing so. And I never forget, it was a feast day, years ago, that I heard different music, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And since that time, it was like a complete change for me because I was battling it. And at that point, I'm like, this is how I'm going to win. This is what's going to get me, to the finish line. So I chose to deal with this set of music rather than listening to the worldly music that's just completely defiled. And
Mm-hmm.
now I have to turn this on my family. You know, that was difficult. It
Mm-hmm.
was really hard. And like I said, it's not all the way complete. It's a work in progress. But I praise Yah because we way better than we used to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My daughter was singing a song the other day. I'm like, how did you even know that song? That song was out when I was like 4 or 5 years old. How did you know that song?
Mm-hmm.
And she's singing it, and I'm like, okay, where did you hear that song at? She
Mm-hmm.
heard it on a movie. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
um, and that's the way it works. It creeps in so quickly that way. And I just praise Yah. It wasn't like one of them crazy songs that we shouldn't be listening to, but it was still something that caught my ear and caught my attention. Like, I need to pay attention because she heard this in a movie, and not only that,
Mm-hmm.
she heard it in a movie that she didn't watch with me. You know,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so it's one of those things that's always a work in project progress, and the only thing you can do is just continue to work on it because we identified the problem years ago, and we're still working on it here in our household
Mm-hmm.
because it's all around us.
Yes. 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 What do you think, Yehoshua?
Well, my brother brought out so many great elements, and just to go at something as the head of the house, and you're making these decisions. Yes, if you're trying to implement change in your family, as my brother was saying, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. But the greatest example is you. The one thing we don't want to be is a hypocrite. So, if I want to implement change in my family, I can't tell everybody
That's
that
good.
they need to
Mm-hmm.
stop doing it when I'm still doing it.
Good.
And
Good.
then the other thing is that I want to consider the cost. If I see that this change needs to come, let me implement it with wisdom, because sometimes like you say in your question, is it simple? Well, something you could do is get counsel, speak with someone wiser than you, somebody who you believe may already have the fruit of what you're trying to bring into your family, and see how did they do it? How did they bring it about into their family? Because when we make these decisions, it's especially when you're making it for yourself, the choice is immediate, but the process is that's the part my brother was bringing out. It's as the Messiah told us, is we're planting a seed, so it's going to take time for that thing to grow up and bear fruit. But keep in mind, if it grows in a bad place, now this fruit is rotten. So we've invested all this time, all this effort, and it didn't bring forth what we thought it was going to be. So that's all I would add to that, is just make sure we move. If you're going to make a decision that's going to bring serious change in your house, get pray, get some good counsel, and then make sure that's something that you've already been practicing, because that's the best way you can teach it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I will reiterate the fact that according to what it is how you're gonna really do that, because the seed is the word of Yah, right? And then
Yes,
what is planted into is where it's gonna be the problem, right? So
exactly.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So hopefully that helped you, my brother, a little bit on that. And uh, it's a good question. I'm sure that that's something that others will want to hear as well. In that. So we are grateful for all of you that's still in the room with us and that respond in there. So we're gonna get ready to close part one up, and we're gonna dive in part two on next week, and open up some more of these things, and even jump even more into the scriptures about serving Him, because the choice, He's saying choose for yourself. So these are choices that we individual are making on who we're gonna serve. Of course, it's talking to the nation here as well. So, okay, if it's going to be other mighty ones, then let it be other mighty ones. If it's going to be Yahweh, then let it be Yah, right? That is very, very important in that. So, no matter where we are dwelling at, we want to make sure that for me and my house, or for us, that we will serve Yah. So that's very, very important
Hallelujah.
in that. And excuse me, want to keep that in your heart each and every day. I think you gentlemen had really had some good power up moments that we had, and if you uh, want to even understand more and all those things, then continue to seek the Father, and He will open those doors up for you as well, right? Okay. He said yes, and that was a great insight on it. So, thank you, my brother, and thank you guys again, and hopefully that the family will be enriched, and in everyone that's a part, and then hopefully that we have said things tonight will make you say, did I have I made a wrong choice? So I'm just gonna put that on the table when we come back together. Is when we do make those wrong choices, then how do we rectify them? All right. Okay. Thank you, my brothers. I appreciate you taking out time away from your family to be here. And well, I don't know if people know, but you guys are in different places, and I appreciate that at your homes. So appreciate you being faithful in those things, and the service that you have done. And so appreciate you very, very much. All right, take care, my brothers, and we'll get ready to close them up.
Shalom. No sweat.